Okay, so we're going to talk briefly about vinyl transitions. When we talk about them, we have two different options that are hanging out there. So we're going to review what's available, firstly, in the way of painted wood moldings. And I say painted, but it's really could be a combination of being painted or stained. So the Performax color that we have here in front of us is the color Driftwood. So this is a private label line for us. Whenever we have something like that, we're going to send that off to the company we deal with, Artistic Finishes. Artistic takes a control sample, in this case Driftwood, and they stain species, in this case probably a European oak or something that has a lot of character and knots and texture on it. So they take that wood and they wrap it around a vinyl molding, but what you're looking at is actually wood that's stained. So when we order those painted or stained moldings that coordinate with a floor, sometimes we'll try to pull a color from the plank. So Jade has the first molding here. This is actually a stair nose in the color Driftwood, and I'm going to lift it up here and just place it next to it. And you can see that they've done a very good job of bringing out and having the grain be pronounced in certain parts of the molding, just like you can see in the sample there. So other times you may have a floor that has a high level of contrast where the molding that's being produced for that floor by Artistic Finishes, they'll take a color from the floor and maybe select it to be the lightest color or the darkest color and have it be one color that can contrast. So it'll be more of a solid. Can't always hit the target with something that really replicates it from a grain and stain perspective, so they'll just go with the solid. So with the Driftwood, they did a really good job. Moving on to the next color here, we actually have the Corolla Taupe, and Jade's going to hand me that molding. And you can see the same thing here, and this is a reducer, an Enduracore reducer. So again, that wood wrap around a vinyl base, and you can see it's a really good job being done there to coordinate with the Corolla Taupe. Southern Shores, same thing. This is actually a T molding. You can see it's very low profile. It's not like a typical T molding where that would jut out a little further. Remember that vinyl floors are 4.5 millimeters and up. This happens to be 5 overall with the pad. So it's a very thin molding, but right on target. And they're going to be on target 90% of the time. Other times, it may just fall within the parameters of, hey, it still coordinates with it. So you can see here with the stain molding, they've stained this wood on the top to coordinate with a darker plank within the Southern Shores. What we come to often in installations, and usually not by us, but by a customer, where they'll install the whole floor, and then the last plank where the molding goes ends up being a light plank. And you can see there that this molding against the lightest plank in the floor doesn't look quite as nice, although it's still contrasted nicely. It doesn't look as nice as finishing it with the dark plank that it was intended to coordinate with best. So that's why we always want to talk about when we're doing jobs or a customer's DIY or they have a contractor is, hey, make sure you pick out a plank of the flooring that coordinates best with the moldings prior to finishing the installation to make sure that you're going to get the best visual when all is said and done. And then just the last one here, just to show you sometimes it's hard to hit the target. This is a 1/4 round piece that's supposed to coordinate with the oak stave color from Performax. So sometimes, especially with a molding like this, it's not going to be exactly on target, but it's meant to coordinate with. So they may have pulled a light color from the floor to produce this molding. Remember, it's not matching, it's meant to coordinate. So with some brands, in this case Maddington, the company is making the moldings for us. We're not ordering them through a third party. And usually when that's the case, the company is having the moldings produced with the same exact paper that is used to make the actual floor. So they'll send off a roll of the paper to their molding company, and they will wrap the same type core structure, in this case it's a PVC, with the paper. So that's going to provide realistically what is a matching molding, although we still say coordinating, because we don't want to, we want to under promise and over deliver. In this case, this is the Margate oak, and you can see again on this side of the floor, this is a lighter plank, and it doesn't coordinate quite as nicely with the darker side of the floor. So just really got to make sure that the customer understands that where that molding is being installed, you want to have a plank that's ready to go, that's going to coordinate best with it. Paper wrap moldings are definitely going to deliver a more accurate color depiction versus the floor.